Hi YouTube, it's Kathy. Last week I watched a movie that I loved so much I actually ended up watching it twice, and now I need to talk about it. I partially watched it twice because I really enjoyed it the first time, so I knew I was really going to enjoy it the second time, and I partially watched it twice because I figured that if I watched the same movie twice, it's one less movie to talk about in my weekly wrap-up, which really bit me in the ass because now I have to make this whole other video because I am obsessed. Baby Driver, if you've never heard of it before, centers around this character named Baby, who is the getaway driver on many heists put together by this figure called Doc. All of the other people that actually do the robbing part of the heists always alternate, so it's never the same crew. And we find out pretty quickly that Baby is actually paying off a tab for something he did to Doc in the past, so he basically just needs to do one more big thing and then he no longer has to be the baby driver. This means that on the very surface level, this is the action flick where you can expect to see a lot of cool driving stunts, and you definitely get that. However, in this video I'm going to get into some of the content warnings as well as what I really loved about this movie, because I couldn't go on about it for 10 minutes in my weekly wrap-up because that just seemed like too much, and yet here I'm making a whole other video. On my second watch through I tried to write down everything that could be a content warning. I might have missed some things and I'm sorry if that's the case. Firstly, and this is a big one, this is a movie that uses the R slur, that very ableist term. That's not the only ableism that is in this movie. Obviously we're centering around criminals, they're not gonna have the best vocabulary, they're gonna be kind of the worst sometimes because that's how people in movies are often portrayed. When they're the worst, they are like that. They use that type of language. When the R slur is introduced, it seemed like the person was just basically getting a dressing down for using it, a great rebuttal, and I thought, that's very cool to see. However, the word comes up over and over again because of a music element to the film, so you hear it again, which I found unnecessary. And it also kind of took away from that rebuke. This movie also has the toxic masculinity and the violence that you would expect from this type of movie. It's definitely there. Also, content warning for the fact that Kevin Spacey is in this movie. You might wonder why that is a content warning. Then you'd be one of those types of people that never heard about the fact that he has been alleged to sexually assault men that were much younger than him at the time. And then when he addressed these allegations, he came out of the closet as though coming out of the closet would completely absolve him of this sexual abuse that he's alleged of. This came out before the allegations and before his coming out and all of that. So although I would never support a project that he's in after those allegations, I feel okay watching things from before that because obviously he's not the only person that put in his blood, sweat, tears, and everything else into this film. However, I completely understand if other people don't want to watch stuff that he's in because throwing the whole gay community under the bus was just a choice. This movie has also at least one white character making racialized puns, as well as briefly touches on an abusive childhood. Now let's get into what I liked. Firstly, this movie has one of the best soundtracks you will ever hear. Not only were the song choices absolutely wonderful for every single scene, they were fully integrated into the movie. And that's because, slight spoilers here, the character of Baby was in an accident when he was younger that left him with tinnitus, so he actually listens to music constantly to drown out that humming sound, which means that the music that he's listening to is actually matching up with what's happening in the scene, to the point where it's a major factor to do with the cinematography, which is my next big point about this. The cinematography in this film is absolutely stunning. Not only do we get wonderful car chase scenes, which were so well done, we also get a great chase scene that is done on foot, and the cinematography of that was wonderful. The second scene in this entire film is a long shot that takes place over the course of an entire song, and the lyrics to the song match up with things that you're seeing in the background of Baby just walking down the street, ordering 4 cups of coffee, and then bringing them back to the heist hideout. I would also be remiss if I forgot to point out that Ansel Elgort did an amazing job in this role. He was just so good, so if I don't mention that anywhere else in this list, even though it doesn't belong in the cinematography section, so good. So good. Also, upon rewatching this, I realized that at the beginning of the film, before any of Baby's music started playing, the tinnitus hum was present in just the underlying soundtrack of the film, so we're hearing that until he starts playing bell bottoms at the beginning of the first heist of the movie, which is just an excellent touch. We also hear this later when he loses his music during a chase scene and then has to get music back back before he can really function again. He also uses this coping mechanism where he starts listening to his heartbeat to drown out the tinnitus. And all of those technical sound things were just so well incorporated into this film. As I briefly mentioned before, the action sequences in this are brilliant. They are so well crafted and I very much enjoy them. There are things that happen with vehicles in this that I would have never expected to see in this type of film. They were so thoughtfully planned out, you would think that a choreographer came in to figure out how these vehicles should move. It was just gorgeous. To go back a little bit more to the music and how it's incorporated, I really loved that, especially when we were in scenes where there were, say, gunshots, they matched up perfectly with that whatever music was going on in the background. The timing of the gunshots fit perfectly with whatever music Baby was listening to, and the attention to detail when it came to sound design is just masterful. The last major thing to do with cinematography is the transitions. There are some gorgeous transitions within this film and it's so good. This movie also had clever dialogue. I laughed out loud quite a few times. There was also a gimmick to do with sunglasses, which I don't want to wreck it for you, but when you see it, you will laugh as much as I do. Like any good film, this has callbacks to previous things that have happened in the film, but also callbacks to previous things that happen in other Edgar Wright films. There weren't the two things that I've learned to look for in Edgar Wright films, which are a tooling up sequence and hey, it's for you, and passing the phone into frame in front of somebody's face. I expected to see those and I didn't. It's okay that I didn't though, because they would be kind of forced in. One thing that I also wanted to touch on is the use of sign language in this film. Baby's foster father is a man named Joe and he uses sign language. The actor that plays this character, CJ Jones, is also deaf and uses sign language. The actor who played Baby learned sign language for this role, and I have a friend who speaks signs, so I asked if he had seen it and if he would comment on it. My friend is Rogan, by the way. You should check him out. He is fantastic. He's a wonderful human being. Link down below. I asked him how accurate the signing was and he said it was remarkably accurate, especially because it seemed consistent with how somebody who learned sign later in life, such as Baby, or Ansel for that matter, but mostly for the character Baby, would learn sign later in life and mostly talk with only one other person. It seemed very accurate for that. Also, from my understanding, there was an ASL interpreter on site, so all of the heavy lifting of correcting Ansel was not put on the actor CJ Jones, which is something super important. Just because you are the deaf person on set doesn't mean that it's your job to teach other people if they're doing sign language wrong. Finally, a thing I loved about this film is it actually showed us the aftermath of all of this heist activity. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but very rarely in cinema do we get to see what happens after a spree has occurred and the legal justice system after that. And I enjoyed that we got to see how it ended up going through the court system. There's a chance that I'm experiencing recency bias, but I almost want to say that this is my favorite Edgar Wright film. And I don't say that lightly because Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite films. It is so clever and so well put together, but there is a chance that this one might actually surpass Shaun of the Dead for me. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Baby Driver that would just not fit into my weekly wrap-up, so I had to make a whole other video. If you've seen the film, please tell me about your favorite parts down below, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go watch it and then come back and talk to me about it in the comments because I am obsessed with this movie now. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you're here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal or my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!